All right, we're back. So, do you think? So, we would like you to identify the inequalities between schools and school districts that contribute to, um, like the inequality of educational opportunity.
So I think that comes in where Head Start and then public school, they have a different set of standards that are goals that the kids need to meet or criteria, or then they fall through the cracks. So like when we have educators from the public schools coming over to evaluate our kids for kindergarten, they have to meet these certain standards. So let's say if the number is a 57 and they're at that 57, well, then our Head Start kids don't get to have that help. And then they fall through the cracks. And then they have to go to other sources, such as the rehab center, to get speech or to get physical or occupational therapy, where they don't get those there at the public school.
Because, like, remember when we had that child that, like, just hit right at the criteria? So, like, say it was 67 the points,
Yes.
and they just hit it. So, what do you think that we could do to catch those kids? Like, what do you think we could do to help it out? Do you have any ideas?
So I think for us, we would have to do in our classroom was we would just have to create lesson plans for us so we could help that child and other children in our classroom so we could boost that morale for them.
And that kind of leads us to the next question about the pros and cons of full inclusion, and what kind of measures should schools take if they're if all kids are going to be in our classroom and they have all different kind of educational and physical ailments or whatever. What's the best thing that we can do?
So, because I've worked in an inclusion class,
Okay.
I think that it is best that those children have their own aide, because it is hard for the lead teacher or even assistant to keep an eye on those children, because they're all over the place, and it's not their fault, because whether it's the lights or whether it's the noise,
Right.
or whether it's the teacher trying to read the story and they're not understanding because they want to go under the table because they can't learn or they can't comprehend, so they have to have special services or they have to have special help. So they have to have, the aide, or they have to have the physical therapist, or they have to have the speech therapist that has to come in and help them. So they need their own aid to help them with that, or they need to be in a swing, or they have to have brushing, or they just have to have those things that keeps them occupied. So the teacher can teach the class so that way she's not distracted and the typical kids are not distracted.
That's true. Do you think that typical kids can benefit from having kids with special needs in the classroom?
I do, because in that way, if they see them, then maybe they can also help them, with whatever they're going through. So let's say if we're doing a game and Miss Brackett is saying, okay, Johnny, it is your turn. And she is saying, Johnny, it's your turn. And then Johnny has to repeat, it's Johnny's turn. And then Sally says, okay, Johnny, it's your turn. So they are reinforcing it is Johnny's turn. And so then Johnny's going to know it's his turn. And then Johnny in return is going to know that after his turn, it's Sally's turn. So they're reinforcing those skills within him. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Do you think that it's a good idea because of the empathy aspect? Like that they actually will care more for people if they see people that are not or do not have an easy time with their stuff? Like, do you think it's easy?
Yeah, because they lack those skills. So I think that would help.
I think would help each other. Like,
yes.
And